of Public Relations here at the Partnership for Public Service. So excited to join you today for the final event in our Sammies Summer Series. This one is about going faster, better, stronger, all about technology and innovation in government. The federal government is often seen as an institution challenged to move quickly to adapt, innovate, and problem solve. But every day, federal leaders are working diligently to make government better, faster, and stronger. Today, we have a fantastic group of our 2024 Sammies finalists who are doing just that. So I'd like to welcome in that group. First, we have Mike Schmidt. He's a Management Excellence finalist and Director of the CHIPS Program Office at NIST within the Department of Commerce. Hi, Mike. Rachel Hahn, also a Management Excellence finalist, along with her team, and she's a project lead at the Department of Veterans Affairs. Hi, Rachel. And Carl Simon, a Science, Technology, and Environment finalist, Director of the Transportation and Climate Division at the EPA. Hi, Carl. And his teammate, Matt Lakin, Director of the Region 9 Air and Radiation Division at the EPA. Hi, Matt. So glad you could all be with us today. So before we get started, I want to give the floor over to you all to share a little bit about the projects that led to you being nominated for the Sammies. What did you do, and what was your role in those projects? Mike, could you start with a little bit about the CHIPS program?
Absolutely, Jordan. It's really great to be here. I'm a huge fan of the work that the partnership does, and so I'm really pleased to have the chance to be here with you and with this fantastic panel. CHIPS was an act that Congress enacted a couple of years ago now. We just had our 2-year anniversary. It's hard to believe. And it was an effort to reinvigorate the semiconductor industry in the United States. It's a legislation providing over $50 billion to do that. Part of it that I lead here at Commerce is $39 billion to onshore domestic manufacturing of semiconductors. Currently, the United States used to produce around 40% of the world's semiconductors. Now it produces around 10%. We produce none of the most advanced semiconductors in the world. These are technologies that are essential to every aspect of modern life. Really important for our economic and national security. And so CHIPS is a bipartisan statement to say that we need to do better as a country. We need to be producing these technologies here on our shores. So I'm the director of the CHIPS Program Office, and for the last couple of years, we've built a team of 180 people focused on that mission.
Awesome, thank you. Rachel, you and your team have created a mobile app to help veterans access healthcare and other services more easily. Tell us a little bit about what you all did.
Sure. At Veterans Affairs, my team and I work on a mobile app called the VA Health and Benefits app. It's a pretty easy, fast, and secure way for users, in this case veterans, to manage their VA health and benefits wherever and whenever they need it. Some of the most popular tasks that veterans are able to do with the app include viewing upcoming health appointments, message their healthcare team, check disability claim status, and more. And we try to ensure that it is as personalized of an experience as possible. And it's a pretty popular product. About 2.5 million app downloads so far, and highly rated in app stores, 4.6 on Android, 4.8 on iOS. And we're very excited to continue to improve the product with veterans.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And a nice shout out to our viewers today. If you download that app, rate and review on the Apple App Store. Carl, Matt, you and your team have been working to help school districts get access to clean school buses, electric school buses, and cleaner fuel buses. Carl, share a little bit about what you all have done.
Thanks, Jordan. And I will echo my panelists and just saying thanks for all the work that the partnership is doing and recognizing the work across the federal government here. Matt and I represent EPA's Clean School Bus Program, as you noted, which was tasked to implement a new program designed to clean up the iconic yellow school bus by bringing both zero-emission buses and very clean, low-emission propane or natural gas buses to the nation's 13,000 school districts, trying to get as many buses as we can to them. To date, we've been able to provide funding for over 8,500 buses, and there's more to come, which we're very excited about. The unique funding opportunity and kind of the theme for today, what our program brings to this conversation is I think we're the only ones at EPA doing this, if not broader, is a rebate system tied to a lottery. The lottery, which allows school districts to participate in this life-changing program to get cleaner buses that they may not otherwise have been able to afford or have access to with a very minimal amount of resources. So when we talk about providing funding, we're talking about providing in a matter of months, not years that are associated with some of our other grant programs. We're excited to see a lot of this funding that goes to school districts that are identified as high needs or serving tribal entities or in rural areas, which are historically, not been able to take advantage of some of this funding. And we've had interest and funds go to every state in the country, as well as I think almost all the territories too, which is again, pretty exciting. I was lucky enough to be the division director here at EPA for the program that has historically provided transportation funding and to states and to other stakeholders. Matt I know will weigh in as well too as a key partner in all that. When the bipartisan infrastructure law passed, we're coming up on 3 years now, thinking about anniversaries. My team and I were immediately given that responsibility to implement this program, and it's a $5 billion funding program. Just kind of as an aside, the EPA budget at the time was about $10 billion. So you can see we're clearly breaking new grounds in many different ways here with this funding program.
Thanks, Carl. Matt, we'll bring you in a little bit, and I wonder if you could share a bit about kind of what drove the creation of the Clean School Bus Program. Like, why was it important to do this and to do it in the way that you all have done it?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Jordan. First of all, I just want to thank you for having us on, and it's really an honor to be here. Appreciate everything that you and your fellow people at the partnership have done for federal servants, public servants, really. Just want to echo a little what Carl said. But specifically to your question of, what drove the creation of this program. I mean, frankly, it's, I was that kid 40 years ago riding the school bus. They were, diesel school buses are loud, they're smelly, or at least, they were 40 years ago. And I think it's just an exciting time. The technology is there where we can do better. And in a bipartisan way, the Clean School Bus Program was passed, and it's our challenge to implement that program, and it's really exciting. So it's my particular role, as Carl said, I'm the air director here in Region 9, so I'm one of 10 air directors around the country, and we had hundreds of staff at EPA who pivoted to implement this brand new program. I mean, it's $5 billion, and it's incredibly motivating. I mean, we're talking kids every day being exposed to air pollution, and we can make a difference in that. So, in particular, my team, we really are the ones on the ground. We are the ones helping the school districts make the connections with the electric utilities and technical experts to break down those barriers to make the program work. And, it's really exciting to be part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you. I think many of us have vivid memories of being those kids on the old school buses with the fumes coming out the back and all that. So love the personal connection there as well. Rachel, I'm very curious to hear from you. What problem were you trying to solve in creating this app? Like, what drove you all to say, you know what, we need to do something, and this app might be the solution to the challenge?
That's a great question. So if I can take everyone back to early 2020, at the early days of the COVID pandemic, we had heard through a discovery sprint directly with veterans that veterans really wanted a single place that was fast and intuitive for veterans to complete some common and reoccurring tasks across all of VA from anywhere and any device. And it was also important that veterans didn't have to figure out how VA was structured. It was really important for veterans to not see the organization of VA reflected in the single product, to offer them that one-stop shop for much of their healthcare and disability benefits and other benefits. And so through the discovery sprint, along with almost a year of working with veterans directly, the Department of Veterans Affairs was able to build this app and launch it within a year on both iOS and Android in 2021.
Awesome. Mike, one of the things that really stands out about the CHIPS office and the program is how quickly you had to go from nothing to a fully operational program. And you and I have chatted about this before, but I'd love to dig into a little bit with you to hear about the hurdles and milestones that you had to hit along the way to get to this point where you are today, where you've given out quite a few grants and things are really progressing at a super fast pace.
Yeah, we have been moving fast. I feel it every day, and it's really challenging. I think standing up a new program, in any context is hard, and I think in a government context, it's even there are additional challenges beyond what you might see in the private sector. We really thought about our work early on in three buckets. The first bucket was vision. $39 billion of taxpayer money. It's a lot of money. We have an obligation to be clear about what our objectives are. And we thought it was important to outline those objectives ex ante and then have that shape our strategy and kind of be held accountable to those objectives as implementation progressed. And so we put out what we called our Vision for Success paper, which is, really has been the roadmap for our program ever since. And that's both with respect to, how we've publicly articulated our goals, but frankly, also internally, how we align our work every single day. So the first is vision. The second is setting up the program itself, putting out a notice of funding opportunity, deciding all the criteria by which applications will be evaluated, deciding how you're going to evaluate, design an application and what information you're going to require. An enormous amount of work to make sure the program is thoughtfully designed in a way that aligns towards that vision. And then the third thing we had to do was build a team. Team is, the strength of our team is, everything for the success of CHIPS. We've got an extraordinary group of people. We have a mix of people with industry backgrounds, investment backgrounds, financial backgrounds, private sector backgrounds, as well as people with government backgrounds, workforce, national security, operations and administration, international engagement, and much, much more. So, between vision, program, and team, those were our core priorities. And, throughout all of that, I think it's important to have comfort with the fact that you will be building the plane while flying it. We are thoughtful at every step along the way. And we, make sure we're constantly keeping up the momentum and moving forward.
So how do you talk to your team about developing that comfort with building the plane while flying it? Like, it's not a natural feeling. As a manager, you usually try to avoid doing things like that, right? So how do you as a leader work to instill the confidence that this is possible?
It's just, for us, it's just part of our organizational DNA, right? I think if at every step along the way, the team understands the decisions we're making and is, appreciates the kind of rigor and thoughtfulness that goes into everything, that is fundamentally what's important, right? The quality of the outcomes. And in that context, being willing to adjust, being willing to say, hey, we set up a process that might not be working perfectly or as we initially envisioned it. So we've gone through this once or twice. We're not going to have a problem saying, hey, let's adjust and take a different approach and, make things work more efficiently and more aligned with our ultimate programmatic objectives. So, for us, it's just how we do our work.
Rachel, a huge part of management for which your team was recognized is collaboration. And you mentioned a few of the stakeholders that were involved and had to be pulled in through that design process and that learning process. Tell a little bit more about how you all handled that collaboration with many different stakeholders, pull them together, make sure the project is moving forward on the timeline that you needed and meeting the needs of the population of veterans that you were looking to serve.
You're absolutely right, Jordan, that one of the biggest challenges with this product is trying to hide how VA is organized. And part of that took a lot of collaborative effort across many teams, bring all these disparate health and benefits tools across the agency together in one place. When these data and data systems were first developed, they were largely standalone features, and to try to create experiences for veterans that are intuitive and personalized, it takes a lot of time and effort. And I think what was key to this collaboration across many partners inside of VA is putting veterans at the center, ensuring that we're using the latest human-centered design and engineering skill sets to really focus and remind everyone the key question of what is the user telling us, what are the user needs, what are their stories, and what are must-haves and nice-to-haves, to then iteratively build with users and ensure that at the end of the day, while it's paramount to gather a diverse set of voices inside the organization, inside VA, at the end of the day, it's really the veterans' voices that matter the most.
So how did you collect that feedback so you could do that iterative development process? Like what went into that to be able to hear from the audience?
One type of, we very much do discovery sprints and research. One type of research is really doing desk research on what veterans are already saying, as well as looking at historical research. It might involve something along the line of social media posts that veterans are already using, talking with various third-party organizations, one of which we work very closely is the Blinded Veteran Association. We care a lot about accessibility with our digital experiences. So really talking to a diverse set of voices outside VA as well was quite informative. And then with each feature that are developed and added with the mobile app, we also do usability studies directly with veterans, with small groups of veterans. We actually, get on a video call with veterans, see what clicks users are doing as they're trying to accomplish a task. And then iteratively improve from there. So it's very much a combination of various type of research and talking directly with users.
Carl, you and Matt and your team had to work with a patchwork of hundreds, maybe thousands of stakeholders across the country and school districts and communities with really different situations and different needs to try to meet them where they were. Tell a little bit about how you navigated those collaborations. You couldn't really take a one-size-fits-all approach, I imagine.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jordan. And I really appreciate hearing Rachel and Mike's feedback too, because a lot of that, I think, translates to Matt and I and our team's experience as well too, and trying to think about designing a program that works for the school districts, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are responsible for getting kids back and forth to school, whether they're using their own buses or contracting out to private entities, which happens a lot in this country. And as Matt said, the motivating factor for all of us is children's health, right? We know that providing air quality benefits to kids whose lungs are developing have tangible benefits for their life going on. So I think we started from all of us from a common perspective, which was very helpful. But as Jordan, as you noted, there are thousands of school districts across the country, ranging from very small maybe a couple of bus, less than 10 bus fleet to districts in Los Angeles and New York that have hundreds of school buses, and trying to find a program that can work for everybody was not easy. We spent in that 6-month sprint that we did from the day the law passed to the time we offered our first funding program, talking to whoever would talk to us. So lots of conversations across the agency with stakeholders of all perspectives. So not just people working in schools, but NGOs, people that were interested in the environmental justice aspects of the program, which are very important to us, the bus manufacturers, you name it, kind of that whole cycle of people in that space. We used things like webinars, which we had, I think, thousands of people on our first set of webinars to show the interest. We did regular Q&A updates just to kind of hear from people on the granular level, because I think, like what we heard from Mike and Rachel, our program hasn't been the same either. We did our third funding opportunity earlier this year, and we're working on our fourth, and none of them are going to be the same, because we're also trying to do that real-time feedback and improve the program, make changes that are more responsive to the issues that we see, but also trying to be better serving our customers in terms of being able to be responsive in ways that allow the overall program goals to stay the same. But there are different ways to get at those, and our team here is very creative and motivated, and has a decent amount of experience in trying to figure out what works and doesn't work in that collaboration space. But I think at the end of the day, you just have to be willing to, and we do, just talk and hear from people when they're ready to talk, and even if they're not, just so we can understand best what's kind of on their mind, and then take that into account in our program implementation decisions.
Matt, can you share a little bit about what Carl just spoke to in terms of some of the lessons learned as you've gone through this process and worked with so many different school districts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head, Jordan. There's so many unique situations. I think one of the things, school districts are strapped for resources, and we were targeting, one of the great parts of this program is we're targeting the most vulnerable communities for for a minimum certain percentage of the funds. So we were doing a lot of the outreach to those communities, the most vulnerable communities, the ones who can benefit from this the most. And those are the school districts where they don't have the staff, right? You're often working with a school superintendent, school district superintendent. Maybe they have a couple schools. They don't have any background in air quality. They don't have any people to do the logistics for them. I think, one thing that we did was, first of all, we helped connect them to, for example, the public utilities or technical experts, manufacturers, things like that, to help break down those barriers, to answer the questions, to make it clear, what needs to happen, because you got to put in place the infrastructure to charge these school buses so that you can actually operate and maintain them. There's no magic formula. We have a lot of mission-driven staff at EPA. We have the relationships that we've built over time, but it's really showing up at these conferences, talking to the electric utilities, talking to the school districts, making the connections. And then, as Carl said, we were able to take a novel approach where we set it up first as a rebate program. And, asking a small school district to manage an EPA grant that's not going to happen in a lot of cases. And so how do we get the funding to the districts to where they can quickly get both the school bus and some of the corresponding infrastructure to set it up, in a way that works for them? And I think that was both the challenge and the great success. I mean, we continue to learn by talking to them, breaking down those barriers, making those connections, and helping them break down the barriers themselves by, setting up those relationships.
Thanks. So, Mike, coming back to you, there are a lot of different public and private stakeholders in the work that you do as well. You've got the communities in which these projects might happen, the companies who are undertaking the projects. How did you work to kind of foster collaboration, but also you've got companies who are competing for the right to take these projects on. So how did you balance collaboration and competition?
So for us, the foundational relationships that we manage are relationships with our applicants, the relationships with the companies that want to invest in semiconductor manufacturing in the United States. And to your point, that is that is a relationship, built on collaboration, because we share this goal of driving investment in the United States, as well as it's a very commercial relationship, because in many instances a company may be asking for much more money than we're able to provide, and so we've built a team of people with all sorts of backgrounds, including private sector backgrounds, that can really drive tough negotiations and make sure that we're stretching taxpayer dollars as far as they can possibly go. But that relationship with our applicants is kind of foundational to the program. But then, to your point, there are many relationships beyond that that are super important for us to manage and crucial to our programmatic success. State and local stakeholders are hugely important. When you think about the manufacturing projects of the scale and significance that we're talking about, $65 billion projects, it requires a tremendous dedication from state and local governments to help make that work. And we've just been tremendously impressed with the dedication of those state and local governments to help make these projects successful. We collaborate with international stakeholders. A lot of our applicants are from overseas, and so working with foreign governments, cooperating on our kind of incentive policies, that's a really important piece of what we do. Overall, I would say the foundational to all of the engagement that we do is actually the underlying substance and the rigor of our process. Because, as anyone who's worked in the context of a large government program knows, there's not necessarily always one right answer, or at least, there are folks who think, we'll believe that another outcome might have been better, and that's okay. That's part of it. But if you have a rigorous, tough, merit-based process, that's foundational to relationships that are built on credibility and trust.
I wonder if you could speak a little more about that trust and the foundational role that it plays, trust between you all and the applicants, trust on the community level that the players are going to make good on the promises that they make. It seems like there needs to be a huge undercurrent of trust throughout all of this. Yeah,
I think that's true for a lot of federal programs, and that's why the relationships we've built are so incredibly important. And so our job is to build those relationships, create momentum for this incredible investment in the United States. We have more than $300 billion of announced commitments to investing in semiconductor manufacturing in the United States, and that investment is really underway. Since the CHIPS Act passed, there's been more investment in electronics manufacturing in this country than in the previous 26 years combined. So really what we're seeing is a hockey stick effect of investment in semiconductor manufacturing that is hugely consequential for our country, hugely consequential for our economic and national security. And so those commitments are coming from our applicants, and then we build those relationships with our applicants whereby the government can be a strong and credible partner in helping to support those activities, while at the same time being laser focused on protecting taxpayer dollars and making sure that as funds go out the door, it's happening as our programmatic objectives are being met. So just to stay with you for one more question, Mike, you all recently celebrated your second anniversary as a program. And in that time, I believe you've awarded more than $29 billion in government support and investment, although the number changes every time you check because you guys are so busy. How have you had to evolve what you all do to keep up with the demand and the pace and the interest around this program? Well, it really foundational is to the whole program has been where I started, which was outlining the vision, right? And so, we did the work early on, and this wasn't easy, by the way, because we were trying to hire as quickly as we possibly could. We were trying to write our notice of funding opportunity, stand up the program, stand up the application, but we took the time early on to articulate our objectives, to articulate our vision for success. And that I think has given us a measure of programmatic stability. Even as things change, we didn't know exactly what we might see from all of our applicants, or things in the world change. Like, for example, the extent to which artificial intelligence has kind of come on the scene, and it's going to be a huge driver of dynamics in the semiconductor industry going forward. We have to be dynamic and responsive in all these ways. I mean, the semiconductor industry is, one of the most competitive, dynamic, cyclical industries in the entire world. So we've built a process that can be dynamic and responsive to all of that, and we'll have to, continue to be so in the future, even after we make our awards as funds are going out the door. We are able to do that while still being grounded in the core programmatic objectives we laid out early on about advancing manufacturing the most advanced leading edge technologies, as well as other technologies here in the United States.
So, Rachel, I'm curious to hear something in all this collection of feedback and all the iteration that you all undertook as you're developing this app, something you heard that surprised you and made you look at your project in a different way.
That's a great question. Something I'll say I underestimated from hearing, lots of feedback from veterans, and it's on an everyday basis. I underestimated the importance of making the login process as easy as possible for users. I think we all know on this call and those listening in that when we are, taking care of our digital tasks that relate to financial services or healthcare, it's a very much an authenticated, personal, very private tasks. And security and login is incredibly important. And I think we underestimated that veterans' number one love for this app is that we made login really easy. We added biometric login as part of the initial MVP launch of the app. And out of all the features that we've introduced since 3 years ago, all the various healthcare tasks and disability benefit tasks that veterans can do, the number one most popular feature is biometric login, making that gate as easy as possible. So I would say that definitely was a pleasant surprise to find out. And something else that was really interesting was much of our user population leveraged assistive technology, such as the ability for blind veterans to be able to access and read their decision letters throughout the app. What we didn't realize was that actually most of our users also have dark mode turned on for this mobile app, which is very similar to how users in general engage with mobile apps. So what was really interesting was very much that assistive technology is not just for those who might have low or no vision. It's really for everyone. So it really harps on the importance of keeping, that line of communication with users open. We check App Store reviews, for example, every day. Particularly the ones that rate us 1, 2, or 3. We're very interested in hearing what they have to say.
That's fascinating and such a good point that features you design with one population in mind can serve many, many more people. I wonder, Rachel, if you could also speak a bit to like the very personal level impact that this innovation has had for the population you're trying to serve. I'm sure you've heard really moving stories about how people's lives have been benefited, changed, how something has become easier that was hard. Like, how gratifying is that for you as a product lead, a product designer, to be able to see the tangible impact?
The great question. I would say, in terms of size of impact and personally the gratitude we receive from many of the positive praises from users, it is incredible to show up every day in a public service role and be able to feel that impact. I think for me personally, it feels particularly gratifying when the team and I see the product really help veterans manage healthcare tasks. Being able to quickly pull up the app, log in with your face or your fingerprint, and see an upcoming appointment when you get in the car, when you get into electric bus, and travel to your health appointment, or when you're able to easily, message your doctor or nurse, be able to quickly check on your status for that disability claim that will really make a economic impact for you and your family. It's incredibly gratifying. I feel very lucky to be in this role. And my team and I strive to make this product better every day.
So Matt, Carl, we'll start with Matt. As I shared with you earlier, I was walking my kids to school today and I saw an electric school bus rumble down the road past us and thought of your team and both of you. Like, how is the experience of seeing, again, such a tangible impact of the work that you all are doing in these communities that really, really need it?
Yeah, Jordan, it is just incredibly gratifying to see the tangible thing. Like, we did that. It just makes such a difference. And we go to a lot of conferences, we talk to people, we talk to school districts, but we also talk to bus drivers, for example. And we had one bus driver tell us that the drive to school is different now because buses are quieter. So, I care about air quality. That's my job. I also care about noise. But this was, I would say, an unexpected benefit, right? We've all seen that. We've seen electric school buses, like city buses or school buses, go by and you barely hear them. And the bus driver is telling us that it creates an atmosphere where it's easier for the kids to talk to each other. It's easier for the bus driver to talk to the kids. And everyone's just more relaxed. They're less agitated. And the bus driver noted, especially at the end of a long school day, what a difference it makes for the kids. So again, it's those tangible things, it's really exciting. And there is a massive fleet of school buses out there. I believe Carl, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the number is about 500,000 school buses. So, we are starting, but there's a lot of work to do. But it's exciting. I mean, it's really exciting that, like I said, what my experience 40 years ago is not what kids have to experience today. And that makes a difference, especially as a parent. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, another impact of the program that you might not have anticipated on the front end, but it's super fascinating. So Carl, what's next for you all? Like, where do you go from here? Is there more to do on this front? Where are you innovating now?
Yeah. So we still have a bit of money to allocate here. So we're working on our next funding program, hopefully get something out, possibly planning on later this year. We'll see how that plays out. But what we're really kind of thinking about here, Jordan, and Matt touched on it a bit, is what happens when this funding runs out? Because school buses are replaced on a regular basis. We have created a community now of people that are motivated to continue this trend, and we want to support that. So thinking about how we use our next funding opportunities to help create that connective tissue even tighter and to grow it more. So working with our wonderful colleagues over at the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation, which is a program, a support group set up with DOE and Department of Energy and Department of Transportation staff, There are technical concierge service for school bus work. Working with them to figure out how we can get information out to school districts that are interested in doing upgrading their fleet on their own without federal dollars or without state dollars, as we try to think about reducing costs of these buses because they're still kind of expensive. We have some work to do there with our stakeholders, but really thinking about how does this momentum that we are seeing now and this excitement that we're seeing in this space continues for years to come, because we do have a bit of work to do to make a big dent in the nation's public school bus fleet. We're excited about that, but it will be a long conversation, but we're excited for the future.
Big challenges, but you all seem up to the task. I want to zoom out a bit, and we'll close with kind of a lightning round from each of you. I want to talk to you not about your work, but about like your experience in the public sector. So, two-part question for each of you. Let's start with Mike. Mike, what led you to public service, and what opportunities has working in the federal government provided you that you didn't expect or think you wouldn't have gotten elsewhere?
Love the question. I've had at this point an extended career in public service. I was at the Treasury Department in 2011, 2012. I spent about 5 years in New York State government, and then came back down to DC to work again at Treasury, and then came over to Commerce to work on the CHIPS program. In all those different contexts, the thing that I, find so meaningful about getting to work in public service is, the ability to demonstrate that public institutions, that government can really deliver for people, that can have an impact on people's lives. When I was in state government, I was the commissioner of the New York State Department of Tax and Finance. And so, everything that agency did, was interacting with, real people and, was having a real impact on people's lives. And if we could do little things, I love what Rachel's talking about, do little things that make people interactions with government better. Well, you're increasing faith in public institutions, and you're really having an impact on their day-to-day experience with government. And then in a role like CHIPS, being able to demonstrate that government can be entrusted with the significant responsibility of allocating $39 billion to advance an industry that is so essential for our economic and national security, and that where our success is so important for the overall strength and security of the country. So I've found just a tremendous amount of meaning in that work. It's always been kind of what drew me to it. And then I think what I've come to just really appreciate in every single one of those contexts is the quality of the public servants that I've gotten to work with. And at the state level, at the federal level, different contexts, there are extraordinary people who are coming to work every day to serve the public. And, it's truly extraordinary. At CHIPS, one of the really fun things about what we've done here is build a team of people with government experience and without government experience, coming in for the first time, and, people have been in the federal government for a couple of decades, and, to build that mix of people, to get everyone committed to a single mission, to kind of get a group of people, believing that government can deliver, government can have an impact. That's, it's an extraordinary privilege.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. Rachel, same question to you, two parts. What led you to public service, and what opportunities has public service given you that you didn't expect or might not have gotten elsewhere?
So much of my career is in the private sector. I started in healthcare, and then later I was at a software as a service or a SaaS company. And I got exposed to government work because part of the client base were US and other countries, national and local governments. And I really enjoy my experiences working with those governments and wanted to be closer to the action. And so I joined the United States Digital Service, initially working at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on pandemic-ready data systems, and now at Veterans Affairs on the flagship mobile app. And in the last 3 years or so, I will say I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be part of the scale of impact that my colleagues at Department of Commerce and EPA here have been talking about. It simply feels really good to work on government products that noticeably, that quantifiably and qualitatively, products that not only meet but exceed people's expectations. And that's a great role to have. And then long run, this directly impacts Americans' trust in government. And yeah, it's unexpected to be able to feel the small things we do every day, and how that is part of something bigger than myself. So feel very grateful for this opportunity.
Love that. All right, Carl, same question to you. What led you to public service, and what have you gotten to do in public service that you wouldn't have elsewhere?
Yeah. So I started my public career many, many years ago, and it was not my first job out of college, but it was my second. And like most people probably that age, thought that I would try this for a few years and go on to something else. And I have just been blessed with an incredible career here at EPA. And I think, consistent with what I'm going to hear from all my panelists is the mission. It's a very good match, and it really just being able to make a difference in improving people's public health and the environment is just a core driving factor every day to get up and say we can improve people's lives here, and the things we do, both small and large, and the programs we're talking about today are clearly in that large category. But there's a whole bunch of things that we do as federal public servants daily that make a difference, and that's just incredibly motivating to me, and I know to the folks here at EPA that I serve with. And and I think about transportation. The transportation issue that Matt and I get to work on here is something that impacts people across the country. We all have a say in it. We all have frustrations. We all have things that work for us, and trying to make that system work better for people so that they can get to their jobs a little easier, or go see their family, or do whatever that needs to do to make their lives easier, is just a real privilege for us. And I think that just really it is the people at the end of the day. We get to work with just incredible people here at EPA, and the stakeholders that we work with too are challenging, interesting, curious, help us do our job better. And it just really that interaction and being able to kind of work with folks, help them improve their lives is just something that's at the core of, I think, certainly my career here, and I know others.
Thanks. And we'll give the last word to one of those incredible people that you get to work with all the time. Matt, what about you?
I love going last because I'm so inspired by Mike, Rachel, and Carl, and you're going to hear the same thing from me. So the fair warning, but I couldn't say it better. So I'm just going to repeat maybe from my own perspective. But to answer your first question, working for EPA has really been a dream of mine. I started doing air quality research when I was 18 years old. But I did know very early on that I wanted to be in a place where I could help people and serve my community. So it's really taking that, kind of scientific interest and bringing it to the federal government, and the opportunity to improve people's lives is just enormous here. And I every single day I go to work happy, and I get to go home every day knowing that my team and I have done something to really improve air quality and protect public health. I think, as Mike, Rachel, and Carl all said, it's really about the people. I'm surrounded by these amazing mission-driven people at EPA, and it really makes the work fun. I guess I don't know about surprising. I think that's probably my expectation going in, but boy, it met my expectation. So I don't know. But I will say that I've seen the same across the federal government. I've worked with Mike at a project in the Phoenix area, so I've seen my federal, our sister federal agencies have that same mission drive, really trying to make a difference. I've worked with state and local agencies routinely as part of my work. And, there are public servants at every level of the government that are really committed to making communities better. And I think that's the most rewarding part. So thank you.
Well, thank you all. That wraps up our conversation for today. So Rachel, Mike, Matt, Carl, thanks for being here. Thanks for the incredible work that each of you and your teams do. It impacts all of our lives in such important ways. And also thanks for sharing your perspectives with us here today. So that wraps up our Sammies Summer Series. Special thanks to everybody who joined us over the course of the summer to highlight their work and demonstrate the importance of public service. We hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about each of their stories. So for now, from the Partnership for Public Service,